Hey everybody, Michelle Granberg here with Animal Activism Mentorship. Our mission at AAM is to empower activists to boldly act and equip them with what they need to fight for animal liberation. Animal Activism Mentorship teaches specific tools to help activists lay a strong foundation for years to come. We offer a free 3-month mentorship program designed for activists at all levels, where we pair experienced activists with aspiring activists. Through one-on-one mentoring, we generate an increased number of effective activists worldwide because we know this movement needs more activists. AAM is proud to be fueled by FARM, the Farm to Animal Rights Movement, one of the oldest AR organizations in the country. So please visit our website, animalactivismmentorship.com. So now I am here to introduce and talk to Entyce. Entyce is a powerful activist, and she has a lot to say. So hey, Entyce, hello, welcome.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely appreciate it. It's honored to be here with you today.
I'm very, very happy myself to have you here. I've been following you for a long time. And for anyone who doesn't know you, I hope they will follow you and check you out, as I have been as well, in terms of your presence in the real world as well as on social media as a powerful activist, really capitalizing on social media to get your message for the animals out there. Your message, the way you convey it, is very straightforward. Wouldn't you say it's very bold? I don't want to say it's in your face, but it's like it doesn't mince words at all. So tell me about your approach to your content and what backs that up and what drives you.
So I would say actually joining Anonymous for the Voiceless really reshaped and constructed my activism. Just having that truth behind the message. A lot of people will say that, it's aggressive or militant. I lead with two things when I speak, professionalism and the truth. And people the society has been very comfortable with what they've been doing to animals for decades, centuries. It's that uncomfortability that's going to get people to take a step back and look around and just say, wait a minute, this requires a different way of living. So I try to just lead with the truth. And I know it doesn't, these are harsh realities that people have to face, and people it's what they're paying for. They're paying for animals to be subjected to these injustices and these atrocities, and baby stepping around it and tippy-toeing around it. It's not going to do anything for the animals. If anything, it helps the person feel better. And maybe it may even make the activists feel better with speaking, but that does a disservice to the animals, because the animals need their message to be conveyed boldly, directly, candid. And that's what I do. That's how I lead through them. Like, they motivate me, because if I were in their position, I wouldn't want anybody to baby step the message. I would want that message to be conveyed with the truth, and hopefully that will get people to change their choices.
Yeah, I love that you are framing it that way, and asking people to put themselves in the animal's place.
Right.
And so much of what we do as activists, the spotlight tends to gravitate towards us, and we want the message to get across, but we don't really want the spotlight. I mean, right? And so it's clearing that up for people and having people recognize it's an emergency. This is an emergency for, if you're in the animal's place, it's urgent. It's an emergency. There's no time to waste. They're facing the knife right now. They're facing the knife right now as we speak. They're facing the gas chamber day in and day out. And if we were in their place, I hope to God somebody would be out there fighting for me and doing everything that they can. So that's where that's where your fuel comes from.
Right.
It energizes you.
Right. And it's multiple different ways, multiple different forms of oppression, multiple different forms of injustices, from a quote unquote food system to animals being oppressed for their skins, for people are wearing them, they're testing on them, they're using them for entertainment, and people are paying for this multiple times a day, depending on what their choices are. So this is a urgent matter. And it, like I said, animals don't have time to worry about, well, how am I saying this to someone? I don't want to make them feel a certain way. No, like I said, this world has been comfortable way too long with what they do to animals, and they need the ground shaken up a little bit. And like I said, I always keep it professional. I don't call people names, or I don't yell at people, or I speak. I come from a very professional background with the job that I have now, and I just lead with that professionalism and the truth. That's it.
And that is what I like about the way you present your message as well. And it really is a tribute to who you are, certainly, right? Who we are comes out when we
Right.
talk. And
Right.
so, I like the way you're direct, but you're not biting. You're right. You're not judging in your message.
Right.
That doesn't, for me, I don't feel like that comes across because it's just not there in that way. You're just trying to pierce through the
Right.
veil, the heavy that everybody has over them, that cognitive dissonance, shake
Right.
up the status quo. And no big changes have ever happened without a group, grassroots, being willing to shake up the foundation and
Exactly.
be loud. So for you, when you're planning your message, when you're thinking about the content, or when you're doing outreach and you're talking to someone, how do you plan the message? Is it whether it's a vegan or whether it's a non-vegan? Is it different, the same? Is it, you also have you
Mhm.
put messages out for activists to keep,
Right.
even if someone's already an activist, they need motivation, they need
Right.
reminders.
Right. I think I don't it comes with the day, to be honest. Whatever the day brings, whatever the ideas that come to mind, or if I'm talking to people on the street. And what's funny, someone said I should start meeting people where they're at. And when they said that, I kind of took that as they wanted me to kind of like I said before, with the baby stepping in the hand holding. But that's not necessarily true, because you may have someone who they may walk past, like when we do our cube events, they could have be in a very deep state of depression. Maybe they're coming up to you, maybe like their brother just committed suicide, but they're interested in the message. I'm not going to talk to that same person if they're like emotional, or if they even admit to me that something may have happened to them the other day and they're sad about it, but they want to know the message. I'm not going to talk to them the way that I may have talked to the troll that came by a bit ago. So I kind of meet people where they are when it comes to the face-to-face conversations. But as far as when I do my online activism and the videos that I do, it really comes with the day. But I always try to, at some point, if, like, let's say if I see something and it gives me the inspiration to do a reel, I'll do that. But if I haven't spoke about giving advice, or try to encourage activists, or saying something about, just to give them that uplift, I always try to put that in there some way, somehow. I always want to make sure that I add that in for activists, because this movement and this, it's deflating, it's depressing, it can be defeating. I know people who are in states of depression right now who are taking a step back from activism. So I always want to, at some point, just give some sort of uplift for activists. And I'm always talking to pre-vegans. That's always going to be my message every every single day, no matter what I do. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and keeping in mind too that you and I were pre-vegans at one point, and that
Right.
helps us when we remember that as well. Of course, we're going to try to be compassionate and try to build a rapport with someone and
Right.
meet them where they are. But at the same time, you have a short window of time, and you really want to speak, as clearly as possible, as concise as possible,
Right.
and not pander. I know that with AV, they talk a lot about that being one of the best, sort of guidelines that they have, not to pander, which means you're not trying
Right.
to please the person.
Right.
You're not trying to
Right.
be on their side, right? Is that what
Right.
that means?
Yeah. That's what I take from that too. And sometimes I'm also outreaching a family that have kids. I'm
Hmm.
not going to also talk to them the same way if I talk to college students, because I live in a college town. So I meet people where they are, but I still give give the truth, regardless of who it is I'm talking to. But
Yeah,
I definitely I definitely match the energies of the people who I approach face to face.
makes
So
sense. Makes total sense. And that's just the basics of good communication anyway. Any kind,
right,
any kind of good, healthy, nonviolent communication and active listening and all those great skills that we can actually learn that apply to doing activism and doing outreach so well. And I love that you pull from your real life. I love that, you know, you sort of expose yourself in a good way and make yourself vulnerable in a lot of what you put out there. And like you're saying, every day new content comes up because real life changes, your life changes, and you're and something that I hear you pulling from, like, here's what's going on in my mind. I'm just going to share it with you.
right, right.
It's
There's
endless content, then you'll never run out.
Yeah, so when I wake up in the morning, I don't have like a set pattern of what the day is going to be or what the week of activism is going to be. It's literally just ideas or something that I may see. Friday is the weekly reminder, so that's always the same way of reminding people that veganism is not a diet. So Fridays are directed towards that type of topic, but Monday, Tuesday, and every other day, it's literally sometimes things I just make up. I just make up out of my mind. So I don't really have a set
Well,
pattern of what
your
I'm talking
mind,
about.
that's right. We cannot corral your mind. It must be free. You must whatever comes up. But I'm glad you brought up sort of some of your regular, consistent message that you said of veganism is not a diet.
Right.
Of course, we know that that's obvious to us, but not obvious to a lot of people. And even if you know, it's a good
Mhm.
reminder that veganism is not a diet. So speak to that.
Right.
I know if veganism is not a diet, well, then what is it? And what are the misconceptions? What do people
Right.
maybe get wrong?
Yeah. I think it all started with I think it was the influencers and social media just taking the word vegan and kind of just obliterating it. I don't think people sought out to do that or they meant to do that, but that's what happened. Because when people think of vegan, and it doesn't fail, it doesn't matter who I talk to, they always think that it has to do with food. And veganism is an ethical stance, it is an anti-speciesist stance, it is an anti-oppression stance, and your moral framework revolves around that. It's not, you don't eat ethics, it's plant-based, you eat that, but not when it comes to veganism. And I really think it's social media and these plant-based pages or these quote unquote vegan pages and creating these recipes and using the word vegans, never talking about the animals, never even showing the animals. And people, they're drawn to that because it's what it gives them something. Like, what am I getting out of this? Oh,
Comfortable.
I'm getting a new
Yeah.
recipe, or this is for my weight loss, this is for my body, this is for my diet. Oh, I'm going to try these recipes with my family. Me. It keeps it self-centered. The animals, they just go further and further down on the totem pole. So I really think social media is what really destroyed the word vegan.
Yeah.
And the more activism I got into doing, I just kept seeing people talk about veganism as a diet, and to the point where people are coming on my accounts and arguing with me about it. And I'm just like, okay, no, we have to kind of like get this straight. So
Right.
when I did my first weekly reminder, I was just like, I'm just going to keep doing this every Friday. And I've been doing it. I think I'm on my 39th or 40th, 40 weeks. I've been doing it now, almost a
Nice.
year. So, and I just want to just keep that out there and just let people know that this is not about food.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Like, if you're eating a certain way, yeah, that affects a diet. If you're eating a certain way, yes, that affects the climate. But the beagles, the NBR beagles that are screaming right now, what does that have to do with someone's diet? Like Ryder, his passing, I did a song for him, for Ryder. What does that have to do with anybody's cholesterol and his rights and his life now being taken? So that's another thing that I do. I always try to, when I'm doing reels or my music or when I speak, I always try to pinpoint and talk about all the injustices that animals face. Like I said earlier, entertainment, fashion, vivisection, the food industry. I make sure that I talk about all of that so people know this is not just about food. Animals are oppressed and killed for a lot more reasons than their flesh and their secretions. So
Yeah, I'm glad that you try to cover, it's impossible to cover all the ways. That's how many there are.
Right.
So ubiquitous and so pervasive. I can't leave the house, I'm sure, without seeing some form of animal exploitation on any given day, whether it's a billboard,
Right.
whether
Hmm.
it's something, an ad, whether it's a
Right.
restaurant, no matter, no matter what it is, and people are so used to it that it becomes so normalized that you're right, we
Right.
need to point it out over and over again. And I'm glad you're getting into, it's not a debate around what veganism is. I don't know if we need one agreed upon definition so that we're on the same page. So it's not just
Right.
semantics, but you're right, there's this narrative out
Hmm.
there that somehow made veganism synonymous with diet
Right.
and and diluted it and
Right.
taken it away from where we need to focus, which is
Yeah.
the animals. So we can put it into an even larger context as the animal rights movement. It's a movement. The
Right.
animal liberation movement or the
Right.
animal abolitionism movement, like the
Right.
civil rights movement, like the gay rights movement, like the women's
Right.
rights movement, all of that. How did you, explain that to people and help them put it into the larger perspective of we have to be their voices because they're not going to go out and do a march for themselves,
Right.
because they're hidden and oppressed. But talk about that.
Yeah. So recently, I not to say I'm shying away from vegan, but someone mentioned this to me, and I didn't. It kind of struck me a certain way because I'm just like, vegan is a strong word. I don't ever want to shy away from that. But they started to use the term anti-speciesist, and started to draw the lines and the correlation between pre-vegans and their speciesism, because their speciesism, their human supremacism is why they don't see these babies as victims. They think injustices start and stop at human beings, and they don't. Just because, and I always say this, if you take the act of a very cruel act, whether an animal is forcibly impregnated, whether they're decapitated in a slaughterhouse or they're put in the gas chamber, if you take away the individual, the species, and you insert anyone else, it's still cruel. You put a human in there, it's cruel. Put a dog in there, it's cruel. Put a pig in there, it's cruel. A cow in there is cruel. You still have a very cruel act. And the fact that people have this mentality that it starts and stops with human beings, they don't see this as a movement. They don't see this as a social justice movement. They don't see this as urgent because of that supremacist and that speciesist mind frame. So I started using the terms anti-speciesist and speciesism a lot more. I would use it before, but I use it a lot more now to help people understand that this is a movement and this is not about you. Like I say at the end of my weekly reminder, it's not about you, it's not about me. It's not about anyone else or anything else. It is solely, strictly, and exclusively about them.
Yeah, they're the victims.
Right.
They're the ones we're fighting. Yeah. So you probably find yourself explaining to people, right, what speciesism is, as another ism,
Hmm.
and it really is our biggest obstacle in terms of the
Right.
psychology of people and why they don't just, oh, here's the video. Oh my God, I didn't know that was happening. I'm going
Hmm.
vegan. I'm gonna today, right?
Yeah. I noticed that, like, so I haven't really had anyone ask me what speciesism is because I give the definition as I'm talking about it. So I
Yeah.
noticed that, so I don't do the comment battling. I don't really engage in comments a lot. But when I post a reel, and I don't know if Instagram is trying to set me up for this, but every time I post a reel, they always give me recommendation. It's never sanctuaries. It's never pages that I'm following. It's always, I don't call them farmers. It's always oppressors and the babies that they are about to kill and oppress. And they show in these cute videos, and I'll check their profile. And if they have a very, very, very heavy following, or even sometimes if they don't, I have a set kind of script that I keep in my notepad. And I copy and paste that into every reel that I see. And I took time to write this little script. And before, my activism has changed. I used to use words and terms that I don't use anymore, or I may shift the wording a little bit. I did come off as attacking, I guess, sort of, so to speak. I don't even like to say that, but language is very important. And I noticed that after I shifted the language a little bit, more people started listening, past friends, past college friends, family, they started listening
Mm,
more. And
mm,
when I would leave these comments on these oppressive pages, they will always battle, always battle, always try to come in and just and defend themselves and battle. But now the script that I write, it talks about speciesism, and it talks about how I just wish that myself and the animals cannot wait until society rids its speciesism, because if the animals that you have in your care, if they were humans, if they were dogs, if they were dolphins or baby elephants, you would be labeled as a monster. But because we live in a species of society, you're looked at as a farmer. And I'll give them the transformationproject.org website, and because they help people transition their land to plant-based farming. And I said they can help you transition into a lifestyle where you don't have to kill babies and their parents to make a living anymore. And that's kind of like a brief synopsis of what I write. It's pretty much of a long comment, but I noticed that when I copy and paste that comment in there, I don't get anyone combating. And I've actually seen people who I've left the comment on. They're in my they're in our stories. There are people who were in that comment thread. They're now saying thank you for this eye-opening comment, and they're in the stories. So it's more that information as opposed to attacking per se. So,
mm,
but it all boils down to speciesism and that anti-speciesist,
yeah.
anti-oppression stance, and the wording of it is very important.
How we're conditioned, the speciesism gets conditioned. We don't realize we are speciesist because it's so conditioned in us. It's like the nose on our face. We
Right.
don't even know we're doing it. We don't even know it's there, and it's everywhere, and it's so accepted. But I like the approach, and that's a great tip for activists. And also, it's sort of when we do comment activism, when we're
Yeah.
going around making comments to try to enlighten, to try to get people to think a different way, just present
Right.
facts, instead of, again, insulting or making it personal, just trying to stick
Right.
to the facts and just
Right.
educate, educate, and
Right.
try to go for the empathy underbelly. Like somewhere
Right.
in that person, in everybody, there's there's still someone who has empathy. It's covered over, but somewhere they
Right.
were born with empathy. So if we can help to ignite that
Right.
empathy again, right? Then
Right.
then the door might open of their mind.
Right. Right. And I mean, there are a lot of oppressors who are just, they're not good people, and the way what they do to animals, and they're to be honest, there's just no hope for certain individuals that I've come across, at least from what I've seen. It's a very scary and dark world that they live in. But there are people who, just like us as consumers, they've been programmed and brainwashed into the jobs that they do by their past bloodline, and it's just things that they know, and they just like you said, they just need that spark or that empathy to come back. And I think a lot of people who have animals that they're oppressing and killing, they probably never once rode with them to the murder house. They probably never even once looked in their eyes before they were about to die. And I actually end my comment with that. I was just like, if you took I don't think I mentioned no, I didn't mention attending a vigil, but I did say looking an animal in their eyes who's about to die is life changing. It happened to me. It will be forever ingrained in my mind. And if you could look someone in the eyes and that does not change you, your soul is as black as night. And that's how I end the comment, because if that doesn't change you, I don't know what will, because it changed me.
Well, and there's a difference between, sometimes people will say they won't admit. Like I try to take people down that road when I'm doing outreach as well, and some of them will just say, I don't care. I don't care if the animal is suffering. And
Mm,
sometimes I think they're just saying that to
yeah.
appear or just to double down on
Right.
cognitive dissonance. But you're right, for some people, they're not, there's not going to be in this lifetime, a big
Right.
aha moment for them. And so I guess our message is not to spend much time with them, right? To spend
Right.
time with people who are a little more maybe on the precipice. And I think that as activists and vegans, often we get accused of being um trying to say that we're better, or trying to judge, or or make people or shame people,
Yeah,
but I
no.
think if someone feels guilty or their conscience is bothering them, that's actually a good first step, like a good opening. That means they
Right.
haven't completely cut off. They just
Right.
disconnected yet from their
Yeah.
heart, from their soul.
Right. And when I do these comments, I'm not seeking this out. It's literally as my reel is loading, and I'll throw that comment in and I'll get out of there. And it's because if you're parading around being happy to oppress and kill someone, I need to speak for them. I'm sorry. Like I'm not gonna say sorry, but and they're just happy to do it. They have their secretions in their hand, or if they just seem real happy to what they do to them. And I just feel obligated to speak. And I'll just write that comment as it's loading and I get out of there. I don't spend my time. I don't seek out these oppressor pages to
Yeah,
go and talk to them. It's literally just as the reel is loading, because I don't want to waste my time with that when there's other people who are reachable. I don't want to say waste my time, because activism and advocating for these babies is never a waste of time, but I don't want to spend too much time in those pages and in those comments. So I'll just put one comment and I'll just get right out of there.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so using social media as a form of activism, we want to encourage people to do that. But also we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the other forms of activism that we do, like you talk about going to a vigil, and then I want to talk about sanctuary, which is almost the opposite of, not the opposite of a vigil, but what we see in a vigil is
Hmm.
their last day, their last hour. There's no more hope for them. They cannot be saved when we are at a vigil with animals going into a slaughterhouse. But the sanctuaries are the life affirming, life giving, saving places
Right.
that would be the answer, the hope to if slaughterhouses closed today. But anyway, talk about your,
Yeah.
it's a heavy subject. It's heavy heart subject, and we'll try not to cry. But we want to remind people how important it is to talk about it, and for
Yeah.
how important it is for everyone to go to a vigil. What would the world be like, Entyce, if everyone went to, tell us what your experience, I know.
That was the most heartbreaking experience in my entire life. I have never felt like that. I have never felt that much sadness, that anger, emotions. And what made it worse is the truck driver was there, and my other activist brother, he kind of was trying to talk to him. He was the leader of the group that day, so I didn't have to engage with him, thankfully. But it's just what he was saying and how he was just defending this. I'm literally giving water to someone who's about to get their neck slashed open, and he's over there. What he was saying about them, it just enraged me even more. And just to see their eyes and see their faces, some of them looked like they were just down to their last.
Panicked.
Just,
Yeah,
yeah.
bit of life force, not even, they're probably so dissociated at that point.
Yeah.
They
And they
have
were
to, they have to escape in order to, they're in survival mode.
right. And I want to say the truck came from Ontario to Jersey. I think someone mapped it out. It was an 8-hour drive, and who knows if they were fed or if they had water before. So they were probably thirsty and hungry. And I just remember one cow, and she was just looked like she was just at the end. Well, she was, but her head was down. She wouldn't lift her head up, and my God, man, oh my God. And then there were babies, lambs, like they were just babies in there. And I could not do anything for them. I couldn't do anything for them. So I held it together most of the whole time, giving them water, filming them. But what really broke me was the truck was backing into the murder house. I don't know why, but I thought the entire truck was going inside. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. Obviously, the truck can't fit in there. The building wasn't big enough, but I thought that that's what it was going to do. But it didn't. And I did not know that I was going to see them be unloaded and the truck go from full to empty. And I didn't even know that that's what was happening. I heard the cows. I just thought that they were distressed, but then I just started seeing less of them and less of them. I was like, oh my God, they're being loaded inside right now. And I had no idea I was going to witness that. And then the lambs were next, the baby lambs were next. And I saw them being unloaded. And the last baby, he or she, they couldn't jump over this part of the truck, and they were just struggling to jump, and oh my God. The truck driver was calling them assholes, and he was just like yelling at them, and then when the last baby jumped over the little hump, and then he slammed that door shut, and the whole truck was empty. I broke down after that. It did. Oh my God. And what also broke me was when the truck was parked. It was parked outside of the murder house for like 2 hours. And that's when I was talking to them. I was giving them their water and showing them the last bit of compassion they will ever see. The lambs were not really trying to come close to you. There maybe have been one or two to come close to you, but they were very skittish. When that truck pulled into that murder house, and it was like they all came towards the end of the truck, and they were poking their head out, and it was almost as if like they were begging me to save them with their eyes. One was just nibbling my gloves, doing things that they didn't even do the whole time they were sitting there. And it's like they knew. And I could not do anything for them.
So since, people say, since we're not there to save them because we can't, because unfortunately they are property, because animals like that are considered commodities and we don't own them. It would be stealing to take one, and so people say, what's the point? Then we say the point of it is that if it was our last day, would we not want someone to be there? Do we not want to go and hear them, bear witness to them, give them their last bits of kindness and not turn away? It's
right.
To turn away, but to lean toward them and want to.
And these babies already have this world shadowing them and trying to silence them. And billions of them go into these murder houses without anyone there for them, without their stories or their faces being seen. This is the last moment. Like I have a pair of gloves that I wore. I have yet to wash them, and I never will, because that's all I have from them. That's it. Like that's the last time that anybody can give them anything. And a lot of these animals, they already come from very dark lives, and then they're going to get their lives ended. They never had anyone give them respect, anyone give them kindness, anyone give them love or compassion or anything like that. And if you can be someone to give an animal that before they are about to die, then you should. And I wouldn't, like, a vigil is something, I don't even know when the next time I will be able to do one, to be honest, but activists and vegans should at least do one, because especially for the vegans who don't speak for animals, because being an activist, it takes courage, it takes strength, it takes confidence. And like we were saying earlier, some of the things that I try to add in my reels for that motivation for activists. But if you go to a vigil, there will be a fire that lights in you that you didn't even think was there. And it could very well give you that push to start speaking for them. So if there's vegans who don't speak, I encourage a vigil 100%, 100%. And definitely for pre-vegans, definitely, because a lot of people they like to talk a lot, but go to see someone that they're about to die. And
you can't, absolutely. That's why it's so essential. And you can't be in denial. It's no longer possible to be in denial about it. It's not an abstraction. We could talk about it and use great, compelling words to talk about these animals are suffering, they're dying. But when you see it for yourself and make that direct connection, it's just a whole other stratosphere of understanding why we'll never give up.
Right. And I watched a lot of vigil videos, and I've posted many, I've shared many. And when I got there, I saw the truck, and just to see them in there, I didn't know, I hadn't even gotten to where everybody was, didn't even start the water. I literally was just walking up to the location, and just to see it in person.
Yeah.
Oh man, the emotions, it's indescribable. It's nothing that like I've ever felt ever in my life. And I don't think I probably ever will feel anything like that.
Yeah,
It's-
it's haunting. It haunts you, and we don't want to believe that. For some reason, some level, I don't want to believe that these places exist. Like I want to be in denial. I want to be back in my fantasy. I want to be a child again, where I can live and not knowing, and yet I don't. I don't want to be in that ignorance anymore. These places,
right,
this we have to face it. This is the shadow side of humanity. More than that,
right,
let's talk about the other. When we know about that, and we're doing our best, we do save some of them. That's what we want people to know. And that
right,
keeps us, as much as that keeps us going to fight, it keeps me going and you going to know that we do save some. It's a small
right,
handful compared to the billions and trillions of animals every year.
right,
Talk about, you go to sanctuaries, I go to sanctuaries. I'm a regular
right.
volunteer at sanctuaries. I do rescue work. I try to
Mhm.
get the animals to the sanctuaries. What is a sanctuary, and why does every activist need to go
Yeah, I
to a
mean,
sanctuary?
yeah. So if a vigil is not something you can do right now, definitely going to a sanctuary and just getting that connection with animals. I'll never forget the first visit to a sanctuary, and I saw a pig, and I looked them in their eyes, and I was blown away by how human like their eyes were. And I was just like, oh my God. I said to my girlfriend, they have eyes like us. And then that connection was, and we were already vegan then, but if you're pre-vegan and you go to a sanctuary and you see them in their, as opposed to a vigil, now you can see them being themselves, being with their friends and their families, and you can see their personalities. You can see that
Yeah,
that these are individuals.
they're just
these
leading
these
their life.
are
Yeah,
right. There's someone, there's someone's mother, father, brother, sister, best friends, and you get to see them in their in their free space, their happy space. And then so Farm Sanctuary was the first sanctuary we visited, and we're not that far from there. We live about 45 minutes to an hour from there. So the first time, like I said, I saw a pig in their eyes. I was like, oh my God, they have eyes like us. But I will never forget that same day we went into the cow pasture, and there was someone standing kind of like a little bit away. Wasn't that many of us, maybe it was about 5 or 6 of us there. And the cow, she or he, they were just deadlocked on me. I don't know why. And I was just thinking, at the time I wasn't sure why. And we weren't really square, but we were like kind of like distance, but we were like, they were just locked on me, and didn't blink, didn't turn their head, just locked on me. And at that moment, I saw a monster in their eyes, because they looked as though I was going to do something to them, and the monster was me, because it was because of
right.
my past lifestyle is why these animals are here. And they probably, maybe I reminded them of their past oppressor. I don't know. Maybe I looked like someone they knew, and they were just scared of me. And I'm just like, even in freedom, even when no one is going to do anything to them, they get fed, they get fresh water, they have the space to roam around, they have all their friends and family, and they still looked at me with the fear of God in their eyes. I will never forget that. And it was mind blowing. So yes, definitely, people definitely need to visit sanctuaries and see animals in
And we
that
see
capacity as
them
well.
at sanctuaries, we see animals at their best, for the most part, at their best. Although
Right,
unfortunately, we see very often what happens, it's so common for animals to still not live out their lives as long as they would have lived out their lives, because of that early trauma and damage and all
right,
the physical and mental, emotional hardship they went through. They wind up, but they still live their last lives with
right.
some more amount of peace. And you're right, they don't trust humans. They do or they
No,
don't, or they only trust some humans, and every
right,
single new human, they have to wonder, are they going to take me away? Are they going to hurt me? Are
right,
they going to shove me? Are they going to trap me?
right,
So they have to reestablish that trust with every person, a lot of them. But I don't know if you've ever seen the animals born in sanctuary when there's actually a pregnant mother giving
Yeah.
birth to a calf or a goat or whatever, for whatever reason, they are completely different animals. Like that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
you really see. They're born in sanctuary. They
Right.
will never have known human
Right.
oppression.
Right.
That
Right.
is the most beautiful thing to
Right.
behold. It's the most pure.
Right. Right. We do have a lot of friends that were born at farm sanctuary that's all they know. All they know is freedom. But then we do have a lot of friends who weren't born in sanctuary, and they are still afraid of you. We actually just recently went to our first cow baby shower last year. It was amazing. The cutest and the best thing I've ever witnessed, because her name is Ginger. She's at Schoharie Creek Sanctuary. It's about 30 minutes ish, 40 minutes from Albany. And she had 3 or 4 babies taken from her, and they rescued her pregnant, and she got to keep Georgie, her first baby she was ever able to keep. The whole time at the baby shower, I just wanted her to give birth, because what was her baby shower in, she was due like within weeks. So I was just like, oh, Ginger, please just give birth here so we can show all these oppressors how much of a bad mother you are. Because that's what they love to say, that they're going to kill their baby and they're just such
They're
bad
gonna
mothers.
ignore them. They're gonna walk away. They're gonna
Oh
neglect them.
my gosh. No, no, she loves Georgie. They're thriving. He was born in sanctuary, born in freedom. He doesn't know anything else but freedom. But she's very, very, very skittish of people. Very skittish. Like I try to feed her some carrots. We bonded a little bit, but she's very, very, very skittish of people.
Yeah,
So,
and we
but
don't. And you want to allow them to be scared. Accept them. That's the thing that sanctuary is.
right,
We don't expect them. They're not here to entertain us. Again, they're not here
right,
to be. They're not even here to love us. No,
right,
they're not
right,
even here to like
right,
us. They can
right,
be whatever they are and in whatever way they choose to. That's the idea
right,
of freedom, and that's really the possibility nobody ever considers. That animals are
right,
here, not here for us; they're here with us.
right. And a lot
That's
of, yeah,
a good reminder.
yeah, and then a
Oh,
lot
for
of,
sanctuary.
yeah, and
Oh,
most and the sanctuaries, they're very good with letting people know, especially farm sanctuary. They're good with letting people know that this is their space. You're not going to just walk up to people. You're not going to just invade their space. Some like attention, some don't. They always let you know who's approachable and who's not. And sometimes people are just in a bad mood and they don't want to be bothered with people, with humans. So they always let us know that this
I'm
is
never
their
like that. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
right, of course we are. Of course.
Yeah,
Moods and yeah, so absolutely, they teach, and we could go on and on talking about how animals are the bodhisattvas. I mean, they are the teachers. They are the example. We should be following their example.
right.
And to
Absolutely.
say that they're lesser, anyway, that's a whole other conversation, but it's just, everything that's going on with this. And, um, so go to sanctuaries, people. So
Definitely.
maybe we want to talk a bit about you write lyrics and you
Yeah.
write songs and raps and rhythms and all within the same genre of what we're talking about: animals, animal rights, animal
Right.
oppression. And so how did you start doing that, and what
Mhm.
inspires you with that, and what do you hope for that? What's the response to that?
Yeah. So I've always wrote music, going back to high school. Obviously that was before veganism. So my lyrics were a lot different than they are now. I tried to and Carrie, she liked my rap then, my girlfriend, but she would prefer it to have had substance. So when I transitioned into animal rights music, that now it's positive. Now it's inspiring people. Um when I joined AV, one of their major, probably one of their biggest events is International Cube Day. And that's when every single chapter in their organization has a cube that day. I was so excited to be with AV. I would watch their videos all the time. I would see these events online all the time. I was just so excited to be a part of it for the first time. So that morning, I was like, you know, I'm gonna just write something and just rap it after the cube. I had no idea that that was going to start the path of animal rights music that I'm on right now, because that they actually shared it. They shared on the AV page, on their YouTube, on their Instagram, their Facebook, and it just kind of went semi-viral for in the AV world. And someone, another organizer in Germany, he loved it so much he wanted to do a video for it. And what he did with that video, he matched all, like everything that I said, he matched the images to my words. And what he created was so impactful. It was so amazing. I was just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do with my music. Because I knew I wanted to do something with my music when it came to animal rights. I just didn't know what that looked like. So
Mm.
when he created that video, I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do a song a month. And every song that I make, I'm going to match my words with the images. And I've just been doing it ever since. And everything's history from there.
Well,
So
yeah,
I've only been
you
doing animal
found
rights
you
music.
found your path. Animal
Yeah.
rights. I never heard it called that either. Animal rights music, of course.
Yeah. And I mean, there are
Music
some
as activism.
and there are some animal rights, more so punk
Yes, yes.
artists. I don't really know many animal rights rappers. I mean, you can hear vegan rappers, but they mostly talk about food. I don't really know many rappers speaking about anti-oppression and animal liberation. It's not many of us out there. We're growing though. I'm connecting with some people. We're growing. So yeah, so when I did the International Cube Day rap, my next song was For Them.
Mm.
That's my best song to this date. I don't think I'll ever create anything like that, because I was so ready, so driven, so passionate, just so ready to get the words out there. And I created that song, and it's powerful, man. That song is, I still listen to it. People always talk about it. And then after For Them was Thanksgiving. I did that in November. And I was like, I'm going to release a song a month. And I did that all of 2022, all of last year. I released one song a month. And speaking of various topics, from the sea victims, You Don't See Me, I created Beaster, which I did for Easter, A Mother's Right, which talks about the cow breast milk oppression industry. I did a song called Back on Track, which is to help veganism get back on track. And I kind of throw snippets of that song on my weekly reminder posts, or on Fridays when I post my weekly reminder posts. So, and then, yeah, so like I said, I was going to do a song a month, and I'm just going to keep doing them. So
You found your path, you found your niche in terms of they always say when you're going to do activism, what do you do normally anyway? What do you love? What lights you up anyway?
right,
And somehow if you
right,
can connect that creativity in some way,
right,
or unique way, then it won't feel like work at all, for sure.
definitely,
It'll really flow, and maybe
right.
it'll have a purpose in that way. So
Yeah, I'm really hoping that, like, the words, I'm hoping for this music to go global. I've been told that is very impactful. It could be mind changing. I'm just hoping for the message. I mean, I'm just starting. I'm not well known. I mean, I would say that a lot of my following has increased within the last couple of months. But all this is still new. I haven't even been doing music. It hasn't even been 2 years yet. I know people who've been doing activism for 9, 10, and artists who have been trying desperately to get into. I mean, I don't want to be famous. Like, I don't want to be a rap artist. I don't want to go on tour. I don't want to have like glitz and glamour and fame and runway and cameras in my face. I don't want any of that. But I do want the message to go global. So it's like, I want to be popular, but I don't want to be famous. I don't know if that even makes sense, but I just want the messages to just get out there. And like I said, I talk about every type of oppression. I have a animal testing song that I'm working on. I have songs that I haven't released yet.
mm,
And what I actually started doing recently is making songs for sanctuaries. I just started that. I did a couple of those. They've been they came out pretty well, pretty well. And my studio closed, so I don't really have anywhere to record my music anymore. So I found, well, my activist brother Jonathan, he told me about this movie app. I've just been making songs on my phone. I didn't even think, no, I didn't even know if I could do it, and it sounds really well. It sounds like I went to the studio. So I said that I'm going to kind of shift it for now until I can find another studio where I can record like official songs, because somebody wanted to, and this actually came about, this idea, somebody wanted to use one of my songs in their CBD oil. I guess they have CBD oil, so they wanted to use one of my songs for one of their posts. And they asked me, do you have any lighthearted songs? And when they said that, I was like, no, I don't. I don't. Because this music is for pre-vegans. It needs to be said, that truth need to be put out there. But then I started to think, like, I do want to make songs for vegan and plant-based companies to use. Like, I do want to do songs for sanctuaries. I do want to make, I guess, lighter hearted songs for maybe kids, or maybe like a kids program or something like that. So when they said that, I was like, you know, I'm going to shift a little bit. And our Austin Farm Sanctuary was the first sanctuary that I wrote a rap for. They were trying to get a new transport van for their sanctuary. And I did a song for them. They loved it. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to start making songs for sanctuaries. And I've done 3, working on my 4th one, hopefully releasing in a couple of days.
I love
So,
it. I love how,
yeah.
I love the spontaneity of that. You know, when things just sort of like come and they
Right.
pop in that way, then, and it's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. Like, that's the next thing I can do. Like, it's already sort of, it seems to be on the same trajectory, you know, and you know, I just love that, and finding you're finding your voice through being a voice for animals. And I think that's
Right.
a beautiful thing. So I think we're gonna wrap up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
how about a final word or two from you? What would you like to leave people with? And I usually ask my guests to leave us on a message of hope.
Hmm.
And also, how do people find you?
Yeah. So you can go to on YouTube, Entyce, the Lyrical Vegan. Facebook, it's Entyce, so nice. Replace the I with the Y. And I'm also on SoundCloud as well, Entyce the Lyrical Vegan on there. My Instagram is connected with my partner. So I believe that if you type in Entyce, you can also pull me up on Instagram. But actually have my name on there, Ashley Vegan, AV Vegans. You know what? I can never remember my Instagram name. I didn't create the account. My partner created it. So I'll send you the link, so maybe you could put it in the description. That just shit doesn't make any sense. I should know what my profile and what my names are. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
But I just want this world to understand that if you are not vegan, you support animal oppression and violence. It is a very harsh reality. I know it is a very tough reality to swallow, but it's reality. And animals are being victimized by the trillions every single year due to the choice impacts of people. And it's because people, what they're going to buy, what they're wearing, where they go to entertain themselves, how they spend their money is the reason why animals go through what they go through. And if people can, and that's another thing that I love about AV is they focus on the demand. And if we need to get this demand shifted and get these babies liberated, but it really starts with honing in on, like we said earlier, that speciesism has to be eradicated. You have to understand that non-human animals are victims too, and cruel acts do not change when the victim changes. It's either cruel or it's not. It's either oppression, violence, or it's not. There's no in between. There's no in between. So please rid your speciesism, go vegan. The animals need you. And don't stop there, because after you go vegan, have to start speaking, because going vegan, it helps some animals, but when you start speaking, it liberates them all.
Right. Beautiful, beautiful. I think you have, I hope you have you've inspired me as
Oh, okay.
always, and inspired others. So, you know, Entyce, thank you so much for being with me, and for
Absolutely.
talking, and for being who you are, and for continuing to be so bold. So keep it up. In case you were getting a little tired or down, Do not let this inspire you. Let's just keep going. And for those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. Please share this video. Please visit animalactivismmentorship.com. Check out Entyce's social media platforms.
Yes.
Look for her, and also be kind, everyone, and live vegan. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle.